Hi guys, Ray here from City Fan TV. I'm going to just about to bring in Dan Potts and Lee Judges. Let's bring him in. Let's bring the main man, Dan. How you doing, mate?
Let's get Lee Judges. Ray. How you doing, mate?
I'm all right. Let's just see if we can. There you go. Let's get Judges on his own. On my screen, anyway. Judges can. It's like university challenge. You can look up at us. I should have you both below me, shouldn't I? Really, you know. I'm trying to behave. I'm trying to behave just in case you beat us this weekend. I said I'm not going to give it too much, but just in case, because I won't be able to show my face next week if we end up losing to the Arsenal. Hi, Ikram, hope you well, buddy. And look, guys, obviously we talk. The biggest game at the weekend is Arsenal versus City. Another chance to see if the Sorcerer can do over the Apprentice. Sorry, the Apprentice can do over the Sorcerer because he's done us once before. Dan, mate, how you doing?
Very well, thanks, Ray. Yeah, as best can be, mate. I know it's a bit bizarre at the moment, isn't it, the way of the world, but I'm missing going to games, Ray. I'm missing going to games a lot. I'm trying to get into these games, but without fans, it just ain't the same for me, buddy. But listen, we got to try and get with it. We've obviously got a big game tonight because I think Europa League, as far as I'm concerned, is more important than the weekend's game. But we're here to talk about the weekend. I think it's going to be very, very difficult. So I'm looking forward to this tonight, mate.
Yeah. And Lee, how you doing, buddy? Is he having?
I think he's on a delay. He's on a delay, I think.
He's on a delay. Are you there, Lee? Have you gone far away? Just so that you don't have to watch the game, right? We can't hear him. So what is it? What is it with Judges and technology?
I know technology is too much. Let me private chat him.
We're having fun.
Come out and come back in again, Lee.
I think that's all he can do. He's there. I can see him, but he's very slow. I mean, he's like some of your defence, isn't he? He's very slow in the movement there.
Yeah, mate. Well, do you know what? That's one of the only things we have got right of late is I know we're still conceding goals, but we can't score them now, right? It seems, apart from at the weekend. But yeah, it's been an interesting one. But you boys, listen, by far the best team to watch at the moment. I mean, I don't think there's another team in the Premier League doing what you're doing, personally. I think everyone's been poor this season. I mean, I know you boys started off pretty rough for the first few games and we saw you get battered by Leicester and I thought, what's happening here? But then I think Pep brought in Ruben Dias and sorted out your back line. And all of a sudden, the balance in midfield has come back. I mean, Gundogan's been player of the season for me, and not just for City. He's been outstanding. So, yeah, I'm worried, mate. I'm worried about Sunday. Really am.
Well, I mean, he might not play. Gundogan might not be playing this weekend, you know. But hey, no worries. KDB's back, so he come back.
I knew he would be. I knew that guy would be back to play us. Always.
Aguero's waiting. Aguero's going to be sat on the bench as well, waiting to come back. But look, Adam's saying Aubameyang's coming back. Hi, Faris and Adam. And I was hoping Judges will come back, but I'll get you give you the first question. I might as well get it going. Get a progress report on Arteta. How is he doing? It feels like every time he takes 2 steps forward, you win a few games, and then you take a step back, and then you go and put in a duff performance, and you get beat. So, how do you think he's doing? How would you assess him?
Nah, man, I'm not convinced, bro. I'm not convinced. You know me on Twitter. I'm quite vocal about the fact that I'm not convinced about this guy. I remember when me and you did a show, must be nearly 2 years ago, Ray, when we did our first show together, and you said, link with Arteta. I'm not too sure that's a good idea, Dan. And I said, okay, why would you say that? Because obviously you guys loved him as a number 2. And that was why, because that was what he was, a good number 2. Yeah. And he's come in, he's made mistakes. He is a novice. He is going to make errors, 100%. Of course he's going to make errors. I think all managers make errors. He's making the same errors, and that's what frustrates me the most. He's still sticking with players like Willian. He's still sticking with players like Bellerin. He's still sticking to players like Granit Xhaka. And although these players have glimpses of good games, they have one good game 2 good games, and then another 3 bad games, and then they have another good one again. There's no consistency with this team. This team cannot be trusted. And people can sit there and say that he hasn't got the players yet that he wants, but he's bought 9 players and he's kept 5 on long-term contracts. That's 14 of Arteta's players. There's only 25 that you can pick in the actual squad. So I don't buy this. He hasn't got the players yet, because actually we've got some very good players. I would say that he's got a better squad now than he had under Unai Emery. I think that, you know, Tierney's better than Kolasinac and Monreal. Thomas Partey's better than El Neni and Torreira and Guendouzi. I think that Aubameyang and Lacazette, once you can get them firing, are better. Saka is better than Iwobi. People that say that, you know, Arteta hasn't got a better squad than Unai Emery, I would disagree. I say that we have got a good squad. It's all about trying to get this team playing. And at the moment, I'm not seeing a consistent style that I can call Mikel Arteta's Arsenal. And I think what's frustrating us the most, Ray, is that we will go and play brilliantly in the first half against Wolves, and then the mistakes happen, and then we see the Villa mistake. We're not going to get anywhere in the league, man. It's all about this Europa League, and I still don't think we're good enough personally to win it, but I think that we've all got to go all out to win it, because the league is looking very difficult. That's
one of my questions for a bit about the Europa League. Lee, can you hear us, mate? Has he gone Mutt and Jeff now? Can you hear us, Lee?
Judges, can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
We can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
You got your headset or on mute, or?
Hey, we can hear something, some wobbling.
He's got this new equipment, you see, Ryan. You don't know how it works. That's the problem with Judges.
I thought it was just,
all the gear, but no idea.
I thought it was just age.
What have you made of it, Ray? I'll be interested to hear what you know about Arteta, because obviously you've.
It's up and down, and it's not easy. And look, we've had it as well this season as well. Are you there, Judges? Tell you what, we'll wait and see if he comes back. Chat whenever you want and interrupt us whenever you want, Judges. Yeah, whenever we get you. Arteta, it's difficult. You want to stick with the manager for a while, and it's getting that timing right. When do you move too soon and say he's not good enough, and then he goes off somewhere else and he makes it, or do you stick with him and for too long and then you have problems? And looking at this season, you're 10th at the moment. Struggling to make top 4 looks extremely difficult, but there's still enough games. But you'd have to put on an amazing run, and we can't see where that's coming from. You're 8 points off 4th spot. Even the Europa League, I think you're only 3 points off what probably will be a Europa League spot. But but
even then, everyone's got game in hands on us, Ray. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, the Spurs have got a game in hand, and some haven't, and some haven't. But the thing is, you played the most of. There's some teams that played 24, some played 23, some played 22, and you're gonna have to rely on you putting a decent run together, and others not. So it's going to be difficult. So, but okay, let's look at some of the players. I mean, this is one of the questions I was going to ask Lee this. Who's been good for you? Which players have been good? Who's been poor? Have the kids been good? Saka, Willian, Saliba. I mean, Saliba's gone, hasn't he? And he's apparently. I've not been following him too much, but I saw.
Player of the month, mate. Player of the month in France. You couldn't make it up, could you? You could not make this up. Honestly, this manager, I have no idea what he has in faith in some of these players and faith in none of them. I'll come back to who's been good and who's been bad in a minute, Ray, but let me just touch on this, because Ainsley Maitland-Niles in the cup final and the semi-final was outstanding, right? And he was looking like he was going to go to Wolves for £25 million, which is all right money. It's not amazing, but it's pretty all right for someone who doesn't get in the first team at Arsenal. He begged him to stay. He begged him and said, "You're part of my future. You're going to be my right back. You're going to be potentially one of my midfield players to come in. You're a versatile player that can play in many positions." Treats him like absolute dirt after that game. Begs him to stay. Take the 25 million and go and buy Bissouma, who you want in midfield from Brighton, who we've been linked with and we want all the time, right? Doesn't do it. He then sends him out on loan to West Brom. Then you look at what he's done with the likes of Pepe. Pepe gets sent off for doing something stupid against Leeds. Granit Xhaka, the week later, then grabs someone by the throat and throws him to the floor. He calls Pepe unacceptable and disgraceful behaviour, and then Granit Xhaka, who grabs someone around the throat, he's just a bit passionate because he's quite a bit over the top, a little bit passionate. No consistency with this guy whatsoever. The William Saliba situation, I wouldn't mind it, Ray, if we had Van Dijk and Laporte as our centre halves. We've got Rob Holding, we had Mustafi at the time, David Luiz. These are players that should be nowhere near the team. And Saliba's come in as a young player that needs developing, that looks to me to be somebody that Arteta would have liked to have tried to mould into the first team. He brings him back from St Etienne, makes him miss the French Cup final to play MK Dons in a friendly. So you think to yourself, okay, that's fine. You're going to play this guy. You want him in early to mould him in. Then he doesn't play him for the rest of the time. Now, I know he had some personal stuff with his parents dying of COVID, which is absolutely dreadful. But you'd like to think that he would try to mould the guy in. Unfortunately, it's not got to that stage now. We've now sent him back out on loan, and hopefully he can be a part of our future. As for players who are doing well, Saka, absolutely outstanding. One of the most typical performances you can see in terms of consistency now. He's been absolutely outstanding. Smith Rowe's come into the side and has really given us that energy and drive that we were lacking in the first part of the season. And of course, I have to say it, there has been some good players. Kieran Tierney, I think, has been an exceptional talent. When he's fit, absolutely brilliant. I think that when you have to give Rob Holding a bit of credit because there has been some consistency and some improvement in his defending. But me and Lee, we still ain't fans. I don't think long-term we want him at a centre-half. I have to give Leno some credit because he gets a lot of sticks since Martinez has left. And we did sell the wrong goalkeeper, in my opinion. However, Leno is still good enough for Arsenal, in my opinion. He's done well this season. As for players that haven't, I mean, Aubameyang you can touch on. He has come back and scored, sort of like 3 or 4 goals in the last 5 games or whatever it be. But first part, he's been absolutely abysmal. So I hope against Leeds, I saw the older Aubameyang back, and I hope that we can get that consistency from him now. Lacazette's been a little bit more infused since the youngsters have come around him. But Willian has been an absolute disaster. I mean, I don't know why he persists on keep bringing this guy on. He's been absolutely diabolical. So there has been some bad mistakes from certain players. You know, Granit Xhaka's made a couple, Bellerin's made a couple. And we're seeing the lack of inconsistency, Ray, that worries me about this weekend, if I'm honest, because we could turn up and I have no idea what Arsenal we're going to see, mate. I really don't.
Yeah. Guys, say a massive thanks for coming on today. Thanks, Potsy. Thanks, Lee, for coming on today, mate. You.
Are you with us, Lee?
Can you hear me?
You with us?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
I've had to change it. My computer, it's the computer that's gone wrong. Like,
yeah. You know, a bad workman always blames his tools. It's always my laptop.
All this new gear, but I haven't got a new computer, so that's what it is. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm moving about all right and everything now. Yeah, so I'll
ask you this. I mean, Potsy mentioned it briefly, and someone else is asking. Do you want to focus on the league or the Europa League? Are the chances of doing something in the league gone? Obviously, getting top 4 is not easy from where you are. You're 8 points off top 4, but you're not far off what a Europa League position would be. Do you think your focus should be the league or the Europa League?
Me personally, there's only one thing to go for now. It's Europa League. That gets us where we want to be. You know what I mean? We want to be in the Champions League, or the club wants that. I don't know. Yeah. They talk a good game, but they don't actually go ahead and do it. I look at Man City. I think Man City are you can't gauge what you do, but what you can look at is that I thought Manchester City was struggling a little bit, but then they went and got a central defender in Diaz. Look what's happened. Change their season completely. Arsenal look at it and don't do nothing about it, and unfortunately, when we do, it's too late. You know, we should have done this. We should have got the players in months ago that we needed. You know, Ødegaard looks a very, very good player, but we've got him like 3-4 weeks too late. You know, we should have got him in the beginning of January, sorted that out. Partey come at the end of the transfer window instead of the beginning of the transfer window. There's things like that have cost us points. And
that's the thing. That must frustrate you because it's really simple. It should be simple to get someone at the start of January or the first week of January rather than last week, rather than last minute.
Especially when you need them. Now, I look at Man City. I know it's off the different thing, but the fact is that they needed a centre half. They went and got one. You know, and what's happened is that their season's changed. I look at Arsenal now and I think, do you know what? We're half decent, but what it could have been like if we'd have done it in the right areas at the right time. And that is the problem with Arsenal. When you're playing against, when you're up in a ball game with the likes of Manchester City and Chelsea, you're not going to compete with them on the top players. You know, at the end of the day, I think that Aguero now is probably coming to the end of his career. Two players that Man City are looking at will be like Haaland and Mbappe. Arsenal can't look at them. We can't. We have to go in with a little bit under that. But that doesn't mean to say, Ray, they're not there. There are players that are there about. Sometimes you might have to nurture them a little bit. Listen, Arsenal done this 15 years ago when Man United were the Man City, when they could go and buy every top player. Arsenal had to nurture them, and that's exactly what they've done. We've got to be able to do that again, but we just mess around, you know, so much on it. Like, I think I was listening to what Dan was saying earlier on. Our squad is getting better. It is getting stronger. When I look at the likes of, we've got Mari and Gabriel on the left side of a defence. You know what I mean? We've got Holding and Louise. That needs to be strengthened, Ray. You know what I mean? Like, now, people turn around and go, "Oh, is it really necessary?" Well, look, if you haven't got a top class defence, look what happens. Have a look at other clubs. Look at what Manchester City were doing. Manchester City, last game they lost against Spurs, they were awful defensively, absolutely awful. But they then went and rectified that, and now look at them, because they've got good attacking players. Doesn't matter how many good attacking players you've got. Manchester City were vulnerable because of their central defence. They've gone and sorted it. Arsenal are still vulnerable in that area, i.e. against Leeds, you know, conceding 2 goals. That is our problem.
Well, I remember saying, you know, when you bought Pepe, but in a position where you didn't need him, when you had Saka, you had Lacazette, you had Aubameyang, and you went out and bought Pepe, even though the deal might have been great, the overall deal over time is 70 million quid. You were much better off going and buying 2 really decent centre-backs, either from England or abroad. I'm going to ask you another quick one, Lee. You've got Benfica tonight, City on Sunday. Then you've got Benfica again next Thursday, and then Leicester, another tough game the weekend after. Can you see Arteta resting players against City?
Well, resting, rotating, yeah. I think that he's going to have to do that without a doubt. You know, I think, like, if I was Mikel Arteta, I'd say, look, Pep, don't worry about it. Save your travel fare. Save your hotel fare. We'll give you the points now. We'll take a 1-0 defeat and we'll move on, because I cannot see Arsenal competing with Man City on Sunday, because unless Arsenal do a miracle today and go to Benfica and win 4 or 5-0 when the tie's over. If it's tight, which I expect it will be after this game, we can't afford to risk players and get them injured against Man City, and then we don't have those players available against Benfica and end up losing the game. It's as simple as that. You know, I think we've got to be, realistic on that part of it now. The reason that is, right, because we put ourselves in this position months ago by not, you know, if we'd have done the things right in the summer transfer window, we could still be in with a chance of top 4. Ultimately, you know, we're about 8 points off the top 4. If we'd have won, particularly, like, I'm not saying but a couple of those home games, Burnley at home, Wolves at home, we should win those sort of games, you know. If we'd have won those ones, we could be still in with a chance of top 4. And then I would say, look, you know, we can give it a go against Man City. But the fact of the matter is, you know, it's no good, and I mean this sincerely, it's no good like beating you on Sunday, and great, stopping your run and everything, and then getting knocked out against Benfica. It's no irrelevance to us. And then we end up coming 6. You know, we've got to be realistic about it. You know, we are capable of giving Man City a game. We know that. We've done it in the FA Cup semi-final last season. And to be honest, even in the league game, we was in the game for long stretches of it. The fact of the matter is now, Man City are on a roll. And what I like about Man City this moment in time is that they can rotate 4, 5, 6 players and it doesn't make a difference. The reason it is that because they've got the biggest and strongest squad. We have to accept that. And I look at Chelsea, and I still think Chelsea will be pushing a little bit higher because of what they've got, the squad that they've got, you know. And it does come down. I think this season, it does come down to a lot more of squad rotation and what you've got, because you're not resting players. Like you've got games which we're in uncharted waters when it comes to games. We're playing, resting, playing. So Man City can afford to. Man City yesterday, which again, De Bruyne comes on yesterday. I think, unbelievable, like, you know what I mean. But you look at that game yesterday, and I reckon like they're probably bringing De Bruyne on Sunday to give him a game, getting him ready for the Champions League game. And what I look at it with us, we've got it in certain areas now to be able to do that as well. But what we haven't had is an Aubameyang in top form this season. You know what I mean? And that has been the key. And realistically, if you look at Man City have not had Aguero all season. They've not had him all season. But what they've done is that they've rotated. They've got some, the De Bruynes, the Sterlings. Mahrez, you wouldn't actually say he's a regular at Man City. You wouldn't say he's nailed on starting week in, week out. But he would be straight into our side. And then you look at Bernard Silva, fantastic footballer. I wouldn't say he was a nailed-on starter, and these are players that Man City have got 4 or 5 of them. Stones has been fantastic this season, and fair play to him, he's done really well. But he's not been playing a lot. I notice he's on the bench, you know what I mean? He's not. I wouldn't say you go into training and you say he's a nailed-on starter. Carl Walker, not a nailed-on starter no more.
No, he's certainly not now. Certainly not.
Walk into Arsenal's side. Yeah. So these players, your squad players are as good as some of our regular players in the Arsenal side. So, when you look at it, it's going to be very, very tough to be able to compete with Man City on a level playing field and also win games. On a one-off, we can do that. I've got no doubt if it comes to a one-off, and I think that I wouldn't be surprised, Ray, if Man City win all 3. Well, I hope you win the League Cup anyway, but I wouldn't be surprised if you won all 3 trophies.
Yeah, well, right after league judges has caught up his missed time in 2 questions. Potsy, Spurs, can you finish above them? Does it still matter? Is that still a major thing for you guys to win, to be above?
Well, listen, I don't think Lee's going to disagree with this, but I personally don't give it as much care as some of the Arsenal fans personally, because finishing above Tottenham to me ain't an achievement. That's not a trophy. Do you know what I mean? We finished above Spurs. Yeah, well done. What do you want? Everybody does most seasons. The last few seasons, they've done really well, and we've struggled to keep up with them. They've kind of out-jumped us a couple of times in terms of the league. Still not won nothing, by the way. Just like to say that. In the last 7 years, we've won 4 FA Cups, and they've won absolutely nothing again. So we like that, and hopefully that you can do us a favour in April and beat him in the Carabao Cup. I agree with Lee. I think you've got to be nailed on favourites to do the domestic treble, as far as I'm concerned. I'm really impressed with the way you're playing. I think you're playing as well as you did with the Centurion season. I think I'm looking at this now. I'm thinking, wow. But yeah, finishing above Spurs, I'd love to, 100%. But it's not an achievement. It's not a trophy. It's nothing that I look at and go, yes, and start getting excited about. So we can do it. We can, because they're awful. I mean, they're the worst team to watch in the league. It's quite scary how bad. I mean, Sheffield United are more exciting to watch than Tottenham, aren't they? It's unbelievable. Without Kane and Son, I don't know where they'd be. I really don't. Probably relegation battle.
They'd be around Sheffield United without Kane and Son. Because
they would. They are dreadful, mate. Absolutely dreadful. And that's what Mourinho does. He'll be there for a couple of years, he'll ruin them, and then he'll bugger off. And that's what he done to Chelsea and Man United.
I was reading it'll take 40 million quid or 40 million euros to get rid of Mourinho and his mob. And he's just happy. He goes to someone like Man United, stays 2.5 seasons, 20 million quid, disappears, moves on to some other mug, which is Spurs. They take him on, and now they're in this position where they're struggling in the table. They bought a couple of players, and he's criticising some players in the open in the media, in public. And they're scared to get rid of him. They're already struggling with money anyway because of they have to pay for the stadium. They've got less money coming in. It's got to be a tough situation. I got a question here from Harry. I've got to cover your face a bit, Lee, to get this question out, but I'll pop you back in a minute. How does it feel to know West Ham?
That's a great question.
Not only above you, but are playing better football. David Moyes
It's a great. This is what I'm saying to you. This is what I'm saying to the and the Arsenal fans don't get this. Not Lee, because me and Lee are on the same page. But there's a lot of Arsenal fans out there that love this guy, and I don't know what he has done to deserve the praise that he gets, because we're playing worse football than West Ham, and David Moyes has got Antonio up front, yeah, and he's got players like Souček and Rice who are playing out their skin. All the others are pretty average players, bang average, by the way. And he's playing so much better than us, and they're by far better than us. If you switched around West Ham and Arsenal, you'd think sounds about right. West Ham are where we are, and we should be where West Ham are with our squad, but we're nowhere near it. And it's a great question because David Moyes gets a lot of stick, and I've always thought he was a good manager. By the way, I thought he's scapegoated a bit at Manchester United, but he's definitely the good enough manager, and he's a better manager than Arteta. I mean, I was speaking to my mate the other day. We have got one of the worst managers in the league. We have, but it's fact because he's not had the experience yet, has he? So we are a novice club at the moment because we have novice owners who don't give a damn about the football club, a novice board, a novice in Edu because he's a novice, and we've got a novice as a manager. And what we're seeing now is we're seeing that being brought down to the senior team because we've got novices like Saka and Smith Rowe outshining the professionals. Yeah. So that's what we are at the moment. And we have to accept that. We have to just accept that that's what we are.
Judges, it's interestingly that, I don't think it's been resolved yet. The Bournemouth manager, you got two Arsenal old boys in Vieira and Henry. Now, personally, I have no idea why they're looking at Thierry Henry because his record as a manager is diabolical. Vieira, I can understand that. Would you want any of them back? Would you want them coming back to help Arteta or to replace him?
Not at all. I would never want Vieira or Henry at the club because one thing is, Vieira to me is probably got to be up there as one, if not the best player that's ever played for Arsenal. So, and I wouldn't want his reputation ruined by the board. You know what I mean? That is my my thing on it because I think that I agree with 100% what Dan's saying, but the fact of the matter is, look, David Moyes, what he's doing at West Ham, he's doing fantastically well, and you give it all the praise that they can. But one thing that he has is experience. He's an experienced manager. He knows what to do, and he knows how to get the best out of a team. Now, we'll see how good West Ham are on Sunday. Let's see. That's a big game for them against Spurs. Let's see if they can turn up and produce a performance. But they've been doing it week in, week out. But like a lot of the clubs, towards this, it'll be interesting over the next 6-7 weeks. They could fade because of the squad and whatever, And the one thing about West Ham, and listen, I've got some West Ham mates. The one thing that they're doing well is, I think that this has been a help for West Ham Football Club, is that there's been no fans because they're one of those sides that play at the ground that they play in, where the fans are miles away from them anyway. So it's not been a massive effect on them as far as like getting their support back. I think that it's affected some other teams. I think it's affected Sheffield United, by the way. That's one of the reasons why they've not quite been as good. Leeds United would be a different animal with fans at Ellen Road, as we all know. So I'm just saying from that point of view that West Ham have done really, really well. And that's going on to Dan's part about Spurs, you know what I mean? Like, he lives in rural Essex, so there's not so many of them out there, like, you know what I mean? Let me tell you, it does mean a lot from where I am, because I'm in the Tottenham area, and they are the worst fans in the world. You know what I mean? There's no one gets near these fans. You know what I mean? They give it large when they win a game. They give it large when they're top of the league after 3 games, and they give it. And now it's all starting to crumble. Long may it continue. And yes, it does matter that we get above them because, one, it means we got higher up in the position in the league than them. And 2, there is the pride of being the best team in North London. And that does mean something.
Well, you guys are going to be Barnet soon, the pride of North London, won't it?
Now, listen, Barnet are not going great at this moment in time. And listen, I can tell you this now, right? Arsenal are the team with the most trophies in North London. And it's not Spurs at a second. It's Enfield Town at a second and Spurs third. So there you go. Like, so they can't even get more. They haven't got more trophies than Enfield Town. So, but they still give it and say that they're a large club.
But Lee, isn't it Arsenal women's team who've got most trophies in North London?
They've got a few. They have got a few. Listen, don't worry about that. They're on the decline and all, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
So,
They're down to four.
Those days of Arsenal dominating in the women's football is long gone.
It's long gone.
Arsenal is suffering. It's suffering from the women's football, and it's suffering in the men's football, like, you know. And listen, I've got nothing. I'm going to say this now. I've got nothing against West Ham doing well this season. Good luck to them, because I think that, you know, they're probably punching a little bit above their weight at the moment. But so what? You know what I mean? Like, and what it's doing, it does highlight that things are not as good at Arsenal as they should be, because you look at David Moyes and you look at the man with experience, with players nowhere near as good as Arsenal players. You know what I mean? How many West Ham players would you take from that team? Not many. You know, Manchester City wouldn't take none, right? No, Manchester City wouldn't take none. You'd take 2 or 3 from Arsenal, but you wouldn't take none from there. And what they've done, we would take probably 1 or 2, and they have been absolutely fantastic what they've done this season. So you know, to be 5th in the league, consistently playing well, I've got nothing respect for them at the moment. Like, here, let's hope they win on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting talking to Spurs fan last week. I mean, as opposed to talking to them earlier in the season when they were on a high. And
when they won the league in November, was that the one?
That's the one. And now, you know, they're pretty quiet now. You know, they're not that noisy, and you know, they're happy just to lose 1-0, and that's where it is. They're falling off a mountain.
Good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you know, Spurs are one of the clubs that you really want to see lose. I don't know what it is about them.
It's their fans. Well, one, it's their fans.
Yeah.
You know, like their players are okay. I've got nothing, and it's their manager. Who, you know, you know, I honestly, going to be honest, right? I never thought I could hate Spurs more than I did, and then they appointed Mourinho, and that is true. You know what I mean? I can't stand it. Listen, Manchester City, I can tell you this now, will never have him as their manager.
No. No chance.
Manchester United, them down the road to you, have been tarnished.
Here's a question then, guys. Which teams, if you've got a league table of the 3 worst sets of fans in the Premier League, who are you having, Dan? Worst 3 sets of fans?
Worst 3 sets of fans. Spurs, obviously, is one. I'm trying to think of the other 2, and I'm going to give you these 2. I'm going to go for Manchester United.
Yeah, 100%.
Because their fans are glory hunters, arrogant wankers. Sorry, can I swear on here, Ray? And this one's a hard one, but I am going to go for Chelsea.
Yeah, because nothing hard about it, Dan. That's the 3 off the cuff straight away, like. You know,
well, I was considering Liverpool, because Liverpool their fans do my head in, but Chelsea for me. I mean, I know Chelsea fans that were supporting Norwich before Abramovich. Do you know what I mean? And now all of a sudden, we're going to do you at the bridge and all this rubbish they come out with. So yeah, it's got to be them 3, mate, for me. Yeah, you're the same judges, yeah.
100%. Listen, Liverpool, yeah, they can be a little bit, but they've got things to back it up with. If I'll be honest, you know what I mean. Like, and also, if it weren't for Liverpool, I would probably be living in another country and not following.
Same. That's the
reason. So I'll always have a little bit of time for Liverpool because
of Champions League final.
Champions League final. So I'll go with that. Chelsea fans, you know, they've piped up. I'll tell you what, like Man City, I'm going to say that Man City fans are getting up there. They're getting up there because I remember being on a train coming back, one of those, what's the electric trains up there?
The tram.
The tram.
A tram.
They recognised me. We just got stuffed, and they was giving it all the way back. But in fairness to them, I had to get off at the Midland Hotel, and they give me stick from the Etihad to the Midlands Hotel.
The thing is, they don't like ball geezers. That's it. They just don't like ball geezers up north.
Probably all right. But they recognised me. They give me a load of stick. But when they when it come up to the station, they said this is where you got to get off, Lee. I thought I was going to be in the middle of anywhere, like, you know what I mean. But they was good as gold, really. They gave me a lot of stick, but it was all banter, and when it got to the station, they let me off. Though. But Man City are getting up there. The reason they're getting up there, Ray, is because they're winning things. People don't like winners. It's as simple as that. You know what I mean? But this is the fact why, when they look at Chelsea, that's why they're a little bit like that. Manchester United are arrogant because they've won things. And then you get the Spurs, they think they are. You know what I mean? Like, that's why they're the worst. They're the worst.
Yeah, but the thing is, and you're also getting the new fans coming along. And we had some silly stuff yesterday where Paul had to go take his Twitter account private because he was getting a bit of abuse, and then he opened it up again today. But it's really daft, and it's it's one thing if you don't think a player had. I mean, we won the game. We won 3-1. I was doing my stream afterwards saying it ended up being an amazing game with those two last goals were fabulous, and it was an awesome result and overall a really good performance against a tough team. And people are going out there and criticising Laporte directly. So he's put a tweet out, saying "well done, lads" or whatever, and people having a pop at him. And it was nothing. Yeah. I don't think it's too bad. They're just saying you're not good enough or get out or whatever.
We also don't do ourselves any favours, by the way. I'm not getting away from that. Arsenal fans, I absolutely love Arsenal fans. I have a great laugh when I go to the Emirates, but there is a certain, and Lee will agree with me, there is a certain section of this fan base that I cannot get on with and I cannot agree with, and it's the accepting mediocrity that we have done for the last 15 years. And I know we've won some FA Cups, but people have been telling me for years that Mustafi's good enough and that he should be unmarsh on him, and that Kolasinac ain't half a bad player, and that Granit Xhaka is doing just fine and we're fine with him, and Rob Holding's our future centre-back. That's accepting mediocrity, and that's getting behind owners that don't give a damn. I grew up winning, and I was a little bit spoilt, to be honest with you, because I grew up in 87. So I was a little bit too young for 89, but I had all the 90s of George Graham and then all the late 90s and 2000s of Arsene Wenger. So I grew up winning. And I remember being in mourning at Highbury when we come second after Man United. And now everyone wants to celebrate us getting fourth. So I do get to that stage, and I think there's a certain part of this section of this fan base that have accepted that 10th is all right for Arteta at the moment. We're doing a good job. He's doing a good job. No.
You mentioned Mustafi, and if Arsenal fans weren't sure about him before, I'll tell you one game. I think it was Mustafi, wasn't it? One game where Arsenal fans should have said, "Right, that's it. I don't want him anymore."
I know what you didn't say.
I was there, but go on, right?
That cup final,
where
Aguero.
When Aguero just stood there, and Mustafi stood there complaining, first of all, instead of chasing him back, and second of all, for not kicking him, at some point during the game. You want a bit more.
Right,
nastiness from the defenders.
I've got to say this, you know what I mean? He embarrassed Mustafi that day, by doing what he'd done. If I was playing there, right, then he wouldn't have embarrassed me again, because I would have smashed into him. Because for the actual fact of embarrassing me, but he just let it go, and I don't like that. You know what I mean? Someone embarrasses you on the foot. So if I'm playing on a football field, it didn't happen to me very often, but someone would nutmeg me or something like that. They ain't doing it again. You know what I mean? They're not doing it again. You know what I mean? And that's it. But I just see acceptance from him in a cup final of I'm not having it, and that was. He should have been done that day. That day was the last time he should have played for us. Listen, I'll tell you what. There was a player played for us. Dan won't remember him, called Gus Caesar. He had a nightmare in the League Cup final against Luton, and that was it. Like Kevin will always say, "Oh, good old Gus," you know what I mean? But poor old Gus, because he never ever recovered from that. But he didn't get 2 or 3 seasons. That was it. Mustafi had another 3 seasons after that of earning So very, very fortunate to be an Arsenal footballer. What I mean? But in saying that, as rubbish as he was, right, I would never get on social media and slag him off. You know what I mean? And I don't understand why people feel that they've got the right to say you're crap and whatever, on a post, because at the end of the day, he must have had something to become a professional footballer in the first place. You know what I mean? So, and I don't get that why the people would.
I think it's simple. To stop this, I think it's simple. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or Frank Lampard or someone had said it. Is you go onto Twitter or any social media and you have to show your identity to get an account, and then it's simple. It's policed. It's done.
There's a bit of both. I can see both ends of the. You know, originally I was saying you need to have. You can't have that anonymity, but then you do. But then on the other hand, people turn around and say, well, sometimes, you know, whistleblowers, or sometimes I've seen some pylons, you know, really bad pylons, or people trying to dox others. And then where's the line? Do you actually turn around and say, then those people shouldn't be coming on social media if they've got a potential issue? And
the thing is with this, right? I you know, it makes me laugh. I've got a fella on Twitter. Right, everything I make say something up, he's on there going, "You bald twat, you this, and that." Like, you know what I mean? So
he's got a point, though. He's got a point.
Yeah, he's got a point. So, but it doesn't matter what I say. You know what I mean?
It must be a good friend.
Yeah. I think myself, get a life. I mean, because why would you want to do that every time? You know what I mean? Like, you know, I never respond to him. It makes me chuckle because he's in there every time slagging me off, and I think to myself, why would you want to spend your life doing that?
Lee, it's family for you, isn't it? It's family for you, mate.
Yeah, no, I was out of order, isn't it? Like, you know
I mean, we had one last night. We were doing a stream after we'd played the game. I suspect it was one person. They must have set at least 3 or 4 accounts up to come on and slag me off. Because as soon as you slag me off, you get blocked. You're banned forever. So then he's got another 2 accounts waiting to come on again. And it's unbelievable. This for so long. And I was telling the guys, you got to remember there are people out there who spend hours and hours of their day, of their time, just doing that, just going around trolling people and getting 2 seconds of a buzz, you know. I mean, and then getting booted off, and then getting blocked, and then doing it. And you got to try and get it around your head around it. But this is what they spend their time doing, and it's crazy. There are people out there doing that. 2 seconds of pleasure. You know, you need to go to the doctor for that. If they're only getting 2 seconds of pleasure out of what they're doing. Here's the question. I'll have to ask Dan this question. There you go. Pop it up. Who's got the smoother head, Lee or Roy?
It's got to be Judges, to be fair, isn't it? Because Judges has been using that Manscaped that sponsors same old Arsenal, I think.
Yeah. Well, I've got to see upstairs and downstairs, Dan. Upstairs and downstairs.
It's got to be Judges. Good man. Good to hear, mate.
Well, he's got better light. He's certainly got a better light than me because the reflection.
Listen, through doing this AFTV stuff, they've given me a light. I've got a mic, which is working, by the way.
Yeah.
And I've got everything. The only thing they haven't given me is a computer, which is I'm going to have to say them in a minute, like, you know. But I've got a studio now, boys. It's really impressive, like, you know.
Yeah, AFTV, like, they still never give me my expenses for coming down to London once. 200 quid that was to come down, and the show never went out after all that.
That's out of order, like, you know what I
mean? So, about 18 months ago. Anyway,
come down by first class, like, you know what I mean?
For me, I had to take 2 trains to get that. Was it 2 trains to come to get that, or I had to get a change at Doncaster? It's a bit of a trek, man.
Yeah,
and then go back on the same blooming day. Anyway, let's get a question on.
Tough life, that, isn't it? Tough life.
So, Fly, if I come down, you know, it was at the YouTube studios or whatever, King's Cross, and then whatever, I don't know, Google, YouTube, whatever. Anyway, here's a question, Lee and Dan: how many players are Arsenal away from challenging for the title?
6.
Go on, Lee. I'll let Lee go first. Which 5 players?
5. I think we need a right back, central defender, 2 midfielders and a forward.
Right back. Another forward?
Yeah.
Would you take Kyle Walker?
No. Even though he's a good player. No. Get someone younger. As a player, I like Kyle Walker to be
He's
fair.
30 years old. He's only 30.
Yeah, but he's Spurs. He's tarnished with him.
Do you hate George Graham?
And no,
Do you love Sol Campbell?
I think Walker's a really good player, but would I take him at 30? Listen, he's an upgrade on what we've got. I'm going to be honest, but I just don't know.
If Walker did the business for 3 years until somebody else came through, or whilst you got somebody else.
I see what he's saying here. I'll tell you what, he has at 30 years of age, he's not lost his hunger and desire, is he? I watched him last night. I thought he was up and down, working. There was 3 or 4 times, and I think this is always something you should look at a fullback for. There was 3 or 4 times when he knew that he wasn't going to get the ball. He knew, but he still made that butt-gusting run of about 30, 40 yards to make the Mahrez come inside or wherever and open things out. And I looked at that and I thought, yeah, I like that. I like that in a player. But I wouldn't have him.
Hardy's asking, would you take Gabriel Jesus as the forward at Arsenal? Gabriel Jesus?
Nah, not good. Not good enough.
Don't rate him.
Potsy. Then. You say 6 players, Potsy. 6 players.
I think we need 6 players. I agree with every single position that Lee's just said. My extra one is a backup left back because Tierney's not got the injury record that I like personally, and we haven't got a backup left back. We're playing Cedric there at the moment, who's a right back. So I would go and get Lamptey from Brighton because I think he's top class left back. I think he's going to be a top player. I really like him. And while I'm there, I'd get Basuma next to Partey. That would be my lad next to Partey. I like this player a lot. I think he's going to be bloody good.
Aren't you after Basuma?
Yeah, we're heavily linked with him for a summer move. So we'll say, and he's a massive gooner as well. So let's see what happens there. Left back, I'd go and get Mitchell from Palace. I think he looks like a good up-and-coming youngster and be happy to play second fiddle at Arsenal to Kieran Tierney. And I think he'll get a lot of games because Tierney's record ain't too great in terms of injuries. I get Edouard up front from Celtic. I think he's banging him in for fun. 22 years old, big striker, strong lad. And I would put all I can into bringing Jack Grealish to Arsenal. Everything I can into getting Jack Grealish. I can't see it, but I would try and get him as much as I can. If we can't get him, then I go in for Houssam Aouar at Lyon because I think we were close to getting him in the summer. And I remember him absolutely destroying you boys last season. And I thought, wow, what a player he is.
Grealish ain't going cheap. And I don't think he's going. I mean, if especially if Villa can get into Europe, I can't see him going. And I can't see them letting him leave for anything less than 60, 70, maybe even 80 million quid. If United are coming calling, 80 million quid. So I think Grealish is out. Houssam Aouar, I don't think you'll get him. Simply because, well, I think he was looking for the moves. He was looking for the Juventus move or the City move. And Arsenal, with all due respect, aren't that appealing at the moment. What they've got going for them is good history, good ex-crop of French players. They're in London, but you're not challenging. You're not going to, and you're not.
I agree. I agree. I don't think we should underestimate the pulling power of Arsenal, the name and the club, because Thomas Partey has left someone who is 10 points clear in La Liga to come and play for Arsenal in London, and I don't think that 60 million is that hard to raise. Personally, because I reckon we could get 25 for Torreira, 25 for Guendouzi. They're going to be going 100%. Lacazette will probably get 30 million for. Bellerin, if he don't want to sign, we can probably get 34. Eddie Nketiah, 15 million or so. Maitland-Niles, potentially 15, 20 million. And then, of course, you've got the wage bill that we've cut in half as well. You could go and get the 60 million or 70 million for Jack Grealish. You might not have enough for everyone else, but you certainly, I think
if you go and spend 70 million, even if you get him for 60 million, it's going to, you have not got unlimited funds. Even if you do flog some players off, you'd be lucky to spend.
Well, Buendia has been mentioned in the chat, and that's another option for me. I think he's been class for Norwich. The last couple of seasons, I've been impressed, and that's a £25 million player. So I think that we link with the Buendias, Bisumas, and players like that in front of Jack Grealish's. I think I'm just trying to be ambitious because I just love the guy. I think he'd be a fantastic player.
He's a cracking player. I mean, we'd love him at City, but I think in all reality, I can't see you spending 150 million quid in the summer.
Neither can I.
I think at a push, you might get to 100. If you do flog a load of players, And if football is definitely coming back in stadium, and you'll have the fans, and you obviously make a bit of money back there. But I still say 80 to 100 million is, if you look at it, this summer that's just gone, how many clubs spent that sort of money? Barcelona can't, Real Madrid can't. The only two clubs the club that splashed a lot of money was Chelsea. And then City spent a bit. Obviously, we had to get Ruben Dias, and we got Torres. That's 80, 85 million on those two. I'm trying to think who else we got. Can't think. Maybe we got Angelina back. We'll let him go. So about 85, 90 million. Who else has spent big money? I don't think there's a lot of big money to be spent out there. And so clubs will try and hold on to players, but there will be bargains out there. There will be bargains out there. And I said, you've got to go and test the water, especially with clubs like, I remember City. We were talking about Lautaro Martinez, and he wanted to go to Barcelona. Well, Barcelona haven't got a 2B.
No. They can't afford it, mate. They can't
about 80 million euros. And I just said, no one can afford it. And I just said last summer, City should have gone in if they wanted him and said, 50 million. Here you go, 50 million. And clubs will look at that. Houssem last season, he didn't want to come, but maybe Lyon have to push somebody out the door. They're losing Depay. Maybe they need a bit of money to do some rebuilding, and maybe that will push him out the door. And if there aren't the clubs that are willing to buy, if Arsenal offer 40 million, I think they'll get him. I think he might be a little bit reluctant, in all honesty, because he didn't want to come last season. But I think he'd embrace it. He'd embrace the move, and he'll get much better wages as well. So I think you just got to. It's once again you got to cut your cloth accordingly, and it might. I think Grealish is too expensive. If Houssem is 40 and Grealish is 65, I think Arsenal are the club that will go for Houssem every time, because otherwise you're just going to get Grealish and one other player. And enough.
Let's not forget we owe 120 million to the government as well, because we bloody borrowed that. So that's got to be given back to him in May. Apparently, that's the agreement. So we ain't going to spend 150 million because we've got to give 120 back to the government. So yeah, you're right. It's going to be bargains for us, I think.
Yeah, Lee. Anybody that you think?
So I think that, listen, France are in crisis with financial things going there at the moment, and so are in Spain. So, I think that there will be clubs, that, at the moment they're going to. Let's be honest. The thing that's keeping the us clubs afloat is the Premier is Sky. What I mean? Other countries haven't got that. Spain are struggling on the TV revenue, so is France. So there could be where they'll have to sell a few players. So I think there could be some deals to be done, and if clubs like Arsenal have done their business right and been run properly, we could make a few bargain buys. Unfortunately, I think it's more of a buying market than a selling market. So to get rid of players, we might have to lose a bit on. So
I'll ask you both guys this: are there any City players that you think you could approach? You're right. It might not be the guys who your first team players or first team starters every time. But are any players do you think you could possibly approach, get them for a good price, and that would come to Arsenal and make you better? But they've got to be realistic.
That's a great question, because you've got Mikel Arteta that knows a few from the time there. Stones has been touted for a little while, you know what I mean? And but then he sort of hit form again, you know what I mean? Someone just said in the chat, you spent big on Ake, who has not played at all this season. So you're well stocked on that central defender. You've got is it Garcia as well? I think was coming out of contract, there as well. So there's 3 or 4 ones that I would definitely look at maybe trying to nick a central defender off you, if I'll be honest. But I think all your other players are virtually untouchable. I would say, Foden, we'll take him off your hands if you don't want him.
Yeah, you have to sell the club. You have to sell Arsenal to get Foden. So you rule out any players. What do you reckon, Potsy? Anybody catch your eye?
If I'm honest with you, I'm a bit with judges. I think majority of them wouldn't want to come. I don't know enough about Garcia. I haven't seen enough of him, if I'm honest with you, to think, wow, it looks like he's going to Barcelona. And the only one that I've always liked, and I've always liked him as a Premier League player, that I think might be tempted is Riyad Mahrez. He's the only one I think that might be tempted because you've got obviously the Foden and you've got Sterling and you've got Silva and you've got about 15 million others. So yeah. And Torres, so maybe Mahrez, but I think the others. So I don't like Gabriel Jesus. I think him and Anthony Martial are overrated and overhyped. But the rest of your team is class, and I'll take any of them, to be honest with you. I don't think the centre back situation would be realistic. I don't think Stones would go for cheap. I don't think obviously Diaz and Laporte would leave. So yeah, Mahrez would be the only option, I think, mate. I'm a massive fan of Cancelo, by the way, and I said this last season, and you were a bit confused as to why. And I saw him at Valencia and Juventus and thought he was class, and he's starting to show you guys now what he can do. And I'm a massive fan of that lad. I really always liked him. But again,
I was going to say, sorry, mate. When he played on the left, you could see the glimpses towards the end of last season. He had a bad start because he wasn't getting picked, and Pep said many times he doesn't like a sad face, and I think he had a sad face. He wanted the rumours that he might be out after 6 months, and basically he showed the glimpses what he could do at left back, and I very quickly I said I'd rather have him over Mendy at left back just because he offers so much. You could see his dribbling, his shooting was terrible, but you could see what he was offering. And then when he switched him to right back, I mean, Walker, from being, one of the permanents on the in the starting 11, Walker, he's got no chance. I mean, what Cancelo's offering is incredible. Wouldn't you be interested in Mendy? We want to get rid of Mendy.
I don't like him because he's always injured. Always injured, that guy. Jesus, he's worse than Tierney. He is. Listen, you asked me this last time we were on, who do you want? And I said Gundogan. And now he's playing every single bloody game. And he's been your best player by far. And he's my player of the season this season in general, not just for Man City. So I think that, you've got to look at that now and think, wow, that would have been a great bit of business for Arsenal years ago when he was at Dortmund. But it didn't work out. He went to you boys and now he's got a claim in a place in the first team, which I don't think he's ever going to get out of that at the moment. He's everywhere, mate. He's a quality player.
I mean, I think for me, Mahrez is one that you could get. Simply, I mean, London and all that. I don't think Real Madrid are going to come in for him. I don't think Barcelona are going to come in for him. Certainly not Bayern Munich. Maybe.
How old is he, Ray? Is he 28, 29, or is he older than that now?
28 or 29. He'll be no older than 29. So I think he's an option, especially if we go out and buy, which I think we're going to get a striker. As he's 29, so he's 30 at the weekend.
No,
he's there with his bus pass, and he's telling us that people are too old. 30 years.
We've got Messi coming in, so that's going to be interesting what happens there.
Well, I was going to say, when we were looking at Koulibaly and people saying, he's too old, he's 29. I said, look, if he gives you 4 good years, that helps your team get to where it wants to be. He's the part of the transition. Then I'd take him. And the thing about Mahrez, I can't see him going anywhere apart from possibly PSG. If Messi, let's be honest, if Messi comes, where does Mahrez play? Bernardo Silva's playing out of his skin at the moment. You've got Foden. You've got Gabriel Jesus. Let's say Messi does come. You've got KDB. You've got Gundogan. There's 6 players already. Where does Mahrez fit in? And so he's possibly one that could go. But if you swapped him with Saka, would you be happy? Mahrez for Saka?
No. No. Who would you like, Ray? Who would you like, Ray?
Is the deal not Martinelli and Saka for Mahrez?
No.
Oh,
Jesus. I put that in there. Martinelli or Saka. We ain't selling none of them. They're the future of this football club. That is the reason why Arsenal will push for the title in the next 3 or 4 seasons. Not because of the players that they buy. These boys are going to get better and better and better. And with the class of other players, we're going to be. Don't forget they're teenagers.
Yeah. Okay. Who? I mean, you've mentioned Smith Rowe and the others. Who are the players that, in let's say 3 or 4 years' time, will help you challenge for the title that are currently at Arsenal?
Them 3. Partey will be about 30 by then. You know what I mean? And injured and past it. So yeah, I think them 3. I think that Saliba is another one that may be. Gabriel, I think, will be around for a title challenge. I do think
Tierney.
Tierney
as well.
So you got 5 or 6 players there.
So 5 or 6,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But like,
I would throw Aziz and Balogun in the mix if Balogun stays. There's a massive if he stays, but he's got something special, that kid. And Aziz, I mean, wow, his passing rate is unreal in the middle, absolutely superb. And he's more of a deep line player, a little bit like a Gundogan or somebody like that. So yeah, I like him a lot. And Lee's right, we have got 3 or 4 options there, 100%. But who would you like, Ray? Like Arsenal, who would you have? Yeah.
Saka. I'd say Saka. Let's
the ones we just said, basically.
Saka, Tierney. Wouldn't say no to Tierney at left back because Mendy's always, well, he's not good enough. You know, his injuries and everything else have taken the toll. So Tierney, Saka.
Sorry, Ray, how old's Foden now? Is he 20 or is he?
Foden.
Is he 20 or is he 19?
He's about 14 into Foden still.
Yeah. Because I think he's 20. If he is, that means the best teenager in the league is Saka. But those 2 players are the best 2 young players I've seen for a very, very long while.
I agree.
Yeah.
Very, very long while.
I say this a lot. We're going to start winding down, but I say this about Foden. I look at the difference between Sterling and Foden in that game against Villa. And Sterling, far too often for me, he just relies on his pace. You know, and he'll just knock it past somebody and run and hope that his pace will do the business. And I think it was Target that game. Sterling tried that. Target just put his leg down like a cricketer and it hit him. Sterling was running. The ball had bounced the other way and Target ran off with the ball. And I said there was no skill involved. A minute later, it was on the other side with Foden on the left wing. He got in the box, took 2 men on. And by dropping a shoulder, by showing a bit of skill. And you look at that, and then you hear what Jimmy Carragher saying he's been doing some sprint training, which I'm surprised other footballers don't do because they think, you know, do they think he doesn't make any? It makes a little bit of difference having specific sprint training. I've told the guys I used to do some sprint training a few years ago, about 15 years back. I wasn't the fastest, but the little things you learned, you could see how they were making a difference. Running on your toes, leaning forward. Losing some weight, but all these little things, you know, to run faster, and Foden's doing that. So I think he'll, he's been.
I think both of them will be 2 of the best we've seen. I really do, and I'm so glad that they're both going to be playing for England. And you add on that Jack Grealish, James Maddison, Jadon Sancho, Mason Greenwood, Marcus Rashford. You know, obviously Harry Kane. We've got very good Euros ahead of us if we can get it right.
Yeah. Just going to say, Andik from Indonesia. He's just coming on. We're just about to finish, mate. So I'll say, selamat datang to you. I get the old lingo out for the guys who come on. If I can, Kalispira to our friend Alexandros from Greece. You guys are playing in Greece. I think I'm going to ask that as one of my last questions. You going to Greece to play against Benfica?
Yeah, in the second leg. Yeah.
Home game.
Yeah.
Is that going to hurt you?
If I'm, is it
Rome?
Yeah.
Is that going to hurt you playing in? Will it not make that much difference? Is it just the travel?
I ain't got a clue, Ray. You know what I mean? I ain't got a clue. I think it's an absolute joke. You know, it's like some teams can play at home and away in this competition at this moment in time. So basically, what they've said to you is, you know, if you get to you win the league, the group you're in, it gives you a home advantage. Oh no, we knock that out of the way, and then teams that have come first have got the opportunity of playing at home, get that leg. I think you've got to try and even it up, and that means just one leg on a neutral ground for everybody. But the same as the Champions League. The Champions League is becoming a farce because of it. Like, you know, I see Barcelona and PSG are playing home and away. Liverpool have got to go to where they didn't play
Budapest, when it was something crazy.
Budapest.
I just think it's
judges. We had it last season. We had Porto were allowed fans, not a full ground. It was about, I can't remember. It was only a few thousand, but they played against Marseille. Marseille, and they had a few thousand fans at the ground, and nobody else was having fans. And it's just you know, you can argue, and I think it is. I think it's a little bit unfair. And as Ikram is saying, maybe both Champions League and Europa League
should have been should have been one leg over the season. As soon as the format changed, they should have said, right, okay, one leg. Do you know why it's not one leg, ladies and gentlemen?
Well, money.
Money.
About money.
Well, the thing is, I can see why it would have been a late decision because, if you think about it, back in December, a lot of countries were open and there was no travel problems. And then, that problem in Kent, that variant, and then everybody just said, that's it, we're going to cut down on the travel. And that's what's caused this. But you're right.
You have to look at someone like Jurgen Klopp, right, who couldn't go to his mum's funeral, but he's because of flying, whatever, but he can fly to go to somewhere and manage a game of football.
It's a German thing. You can't go to Germany.
I know. It's shocking when you think about it. It is shocking.
Germany, Germany put the rules in. It's like when France put the rules in, and quite a few countries, once that Kent variant come out, and the country said you can't come until we've sorted out what the problem is. We're not letting anybody come from the UK. You could still get around the rules by flying to Switzerland and driving across, but which is what some Brits actually did. But it's the rule of the country, and you've got to take it on the chin. But the thing is, UEFA won't try and equalise it up by saying, okay, we've got a problem with Portugal, we've got a problem with Germany, let's just play one day. Because like judges have said, they want the money. That's all they're interested in. They're not bothered about football. They're not bothered about anybody's health. All they're interested in is making money. Last question, guys. We've been on for an hour. I didn't think we'd be on for this long. Score prediction, guys. Score predictions.
3-1 City.
For me, Man City 2, Arsenal 0.
I'll go with that. I'll go with 2-0. I think if we got hopefully Stones and Diaz at the back together, that's what we built this last 10 or 12 games on. Is not letting goals in, and then hopefully sticking 1 or 2 away. Ikram's going 2-0, and Ikram's just mentioned that about the Carabao Cup final being put back to let some fans in.
I hope you win that. I hope you win that.
I hope you win that. At a canter.
So do we. Oh no, it's one of those games. It's one of those games that you really want to get
the Manchester City shirt for that game. I'm happy to wear it.
Tell you what, I'll get you on, judges. I'll get you on before we play Spurs. Help with the preview because
no worries. I'm happy to do that.
Sorry, you'll be happy to do that, Mike. I'll send you a City shirt, and then you can. Give it to charity afterwards. Send you an old City shirt. You wear that and pop it off to a charity somewhere to help some kids. Well, actually, no, maybe not kids. There'll be no kids as fat as me. No 12-year-olds as big as me these days. Guys, lovely to have you on. Obviously, you can see from the people in the chat, they're all so happy to have you on as well. It's been great. It's been a good hour and 7 minutes of chat. I hope you guys do something tonight against Benfica. At least get something to take back to. I was going to say, back to home. Something to take back to Athens with you next week and get something out of that. Ikram's going 1-1 for tonight. Would you take 1-1 tonight?
Yeah, I'll take that. Take that tonight. Yeah.
All right, guys. Take care. Thanks a lot for coming on.
Cheers, Ray.
Top man.
Cheers, guys.